When most people think about starting a farm, they imagine acres of land, large barns, tractors, and thousands of dollars in equipment. But the reality of modern farming is very different. Across the world, a new generation of farmers is proving that you do not need huge land or massive investment to build a profitable farm. In fact, some of the most successful small farmers today are working with animals that require very little space, very little startup capital, and surprisingly simple systems. Two of the animals that constantly appear in discussions about profitable small-scale farming are quail and rabbits. These animals are often recommended for beginners because they reproduce quickly, require minimal space, and can be raised even in backyard farming environments. Many people exploring homesteading for profit or looking for a farming side hustle are told the same thing. Start small. Choose animals that multiply quickly. Focus on livestock that can generate income without demanding large farmland. But here's the real question most beginners struggle with. Between quail and rabbits, which one actually makes more money in today's farming economy? If someone were starting a small farm in 2026 with the goal of creating steady small farm income, which of these animals would deliver the better return on investment? At first glance, both animals look extremely attractive. Quail are tiny birds known for producing eggs rapidly. In some setups, a single quail can lay hundreds of eggs a year. That kind of production makes quail farming sound like an ideal micro-farming business. Rabbits, on the other hand, are famous for their reproduction speed. A single pair of rabbits can produce dozens of offspring in a year under the right conditions. This is why rabbit farming has become one of the most talked about farm business ideas among people starting profitable small farms. But farming success is not just about reproduction speed. Real farm profit comes from a combination of factors. Startup costs, feed expenses, housing systems, market demand, labor requirements, and survival rates all determine whether an animal becomes a profitable livestock investment or simply an expensive hobby. So today we're going to break down the true economics of quail farming and rabbit farming. We will compare them across the most important categories that affect small farm profit: startup cost, reproduction speed, feeding requirements, space efficiency, market demand, and finally, the actual income potential farmer could realistically expect from each animal. By the end of this breakdown, you will clearly understand which animal offers the strongest opportunity for profitable farming in 2026. And if you are considering starting a homestead business, a backyard farming operation, or even a small livestock farming side hustle, this information could save you from making a costly mistake. Before we compare the animals directly, it helps understand why small livestock has become so popular in modern agriculture. Over the past decade, there has been a huge rise in interest around small-scale farming and homestead income. More people are exploring ways to produce food, generate income from their land, and build independent farming systems. But unlike traditional agriculture, many new farmers do not have access to large farmland. This is where micro-farming enters the picture. Micro-farming focuses on animals and crops that can produce high output within very limited space. Instead of raising large cattle or maintaining massive poultry houses, small farmers are choosing livestock that fits into compact systems. Animals that grow quickly, animals that multiply rapidly, and animals that can generate consistent revenue without demanding huge land. Among the many small farm animals used in micro-farming systems, quail and rabbits have gained enormous attention. Both animals are extremely adaptable. Both can thrive in small environments. And both have established markets that allow farmers to sell products such as meat, eggs, or breeding stock. But even though both animals are considered profitable livestock options, their business models are very different. Quail farming typically focuses on egg production and meat sales. Rabbits are primarily raised for meat and breeding stock. Each system has its own advantages and challenges, and understanding those differences is critical for anyone trying to build a profitable small farm. Let us begin by looking at the first major factor that affects farm startup success: startup cost. When someone begins a farming venture, the amount of money required to get started can determine whether the project succeeds or fails. One of the biggest reasons people choose small farm animals is because the initial investment can be relatively low compared to large livestock operations. In the case of quail farming, the startup system is surprisingly simple. Quail require cages rather than large housing structures. Many farmers build stacked cage systems that allow dozens of birds to be raised within a small area. These cages can be made from wire mesh, wood frames, or metal racks depending on the farmer's budget. In addition to cages, quail farming often requires incubators if the farmer plans to hatch their own chicks. Quail eggs hatch quickly, typically within around 17 days, which allows farmers to expand their flock rapidly. The cost of purchasing starter quail birds is also relatively low compared to many other farm animals. Because quail are small, transportation costs and housing expenses remain manageable even for beginners entering small-scale farming. Rabbit farming has a slightly different startup structure. Instead of cages stacked closely together like quail systems, rabbits require hutches or enclosures that provide more space for movement. These hutches can be built using wood frames, wire flooring, and protective roofing. Many farmers design multi-level rabbit hutches that allow several breeding pairs to be kept in a compact area. The cost of breeding rabbits is generally higher than buying quail birds because rabbits are larger animals. However, rabbits also bring an advantage that many farmers appreciate. Once a breeding pair is established, they can produce offspring repeatedly without the need for incubators or specialized equipment. For beginners exploring farming for beginners programs or searching for farm business ideas with low startup costs, both quail and rabbits offer accessible entry points. But the real financial story of livestock profit does not begin with startup cost. It begins with reproduction speed. Reproduction is the engine that drives livestock farming income. The faster an animal multiplies, the faster a farmer can expand their production and generate product for sale. This is why animals with rapid breeding cycles often dominate profitable small farm strategies. Quail are widely known for their impressive egg production. A healthy quail hen can begin laying eggs at a very young age, sometimes as early as 6 to 8 weeks. Once egg production begins, quail hens can lay eggs almost daily under proper conditions. This level of production makes quail extremely attractive for farmers interested in egg markets. Because quail eggs hatch quickly, farmers can rapidly grow their flocks by incubating eggs and raising chicks. This rapid cycle allows quail farmers to scale production within a relatively short period. For people exploring micro-farming systems, this fast growth can be incredibly appealing. However, rabbits have their own powerful advantage when it comes to reproduction. Rabbits are famous for their ability to produce multiple litters throughout the year. A single female rabbit, known as a doe, can give birth several times annually. Each litter can contain several baby rabbits, often called kits. Under proper breeding management, a small group of rabbits can multiply into a large population within a year. This is one of the reasons rabbit farming has become a popular strategy for people seeking farm animals for profit. The ability to grow a herd quickly means farmers can increase meat production or sell breeding rabbits to other farmers. But while reproduction speed is impressive for both animals, reproduction alone does not determine farm ROI. The true test of profitable livestock lies in the cost of maintaining those animals once they begin multiplying. And that brings us to one of the most important and often overlooked factors in farming economics: feed cost. Feed expenses represent one of the largest ongoing costs in any livestock operation. Even animals that reproduce rapidly can become unprofitable if feeding them becomes too expensive. Quail are typically fed specialized poultry feed formulated to support egg production and growth. Because quail are small birds, each individual bird consumes relatively small quantities of feed. However, large flocks can still require significant feed supplies over time. Rabbit feeding systems are different. Rabbits can eat commercial pellets, but they can also consume grasses, leafy plants, and various types of forage. In some small-scale farming systems, rabbits are partially fed using vegetation grown on the farm itself. This ability to supplement feed with natural forage can sometimes reduce feeding costs. But feeding methods vary greatly depending on location, climate, and farming practices. What works in one region may not work in another. And this is where the comparison between quail farming and rabbit farming begins to reveal interesting differences. Because when farmers start calculating feed costs against reproduction speed, the profitability equation begins to change. And the next factor we examine may surprise many beginners who are trying to build profitable small farms with limited land: space. Because in the world of micro farming, space can be just as valuable as money. In the world of small-scale farming, space is one of the most valuable resources a farmer has. Not everyone has access to large farmland, and many people exploring profitable farming opportunities are working with small backyards, compact homesteads, or limited rural land. This is why animals that can produce significant output within a small footprint have become the backbone of modern micro farming. Quail are often considered one of the most space-efficient livestock animals available. Because they are small birds, they can be raised in stacked cage systems that maximize vertical space. Farmers frequently build multi-tier cage setups where dozens or even hundreds of birds occupy a surprisingly compact area. In some cases, a small shed or enclosed structure can house an entire quail operation capable of producing large numbers of eggs every day. This density makes quail extremely attractive for backyard farming and urban homesteading. A farmer with limited land can still operate a productive quail system without needing large fields or pastures. This is one of the reasons quail farming is often recommended as one of the best farm animals for beginners entering small-scale farming. However, density also creates management challenges. When birds are kept in close proximity, farmers must maintain excellent hygiene, ventilation, and disease prevention practices. Poor management can quickly lead to health problems that affect the entire flock. So while quail allow farmers to maximize space efficiency, they also demand careful attention to housing conditions. Rabbits require more space than quail because they are larger animals and need room to move comfortably within their hutches. A typical rabbit hutch provides space for resting, feeding, and nesting. Breeding rabbits also need designated nesting areas where does can give birth and raise their kits safely. Even though rabbits require more space than quail, they are still considered highly efficient small farm animals. Compared to large livestock like cattle or goats, rabbits occupy very little land. A well-designed rabbitry can house multiple breeding pairs within a modest structure, making rabbit farming a practical choice for homestead business operations. For many farmers building profitable small farms, rabbits strike a balance between manageable space requirements and high reproduction output. They may not fit into extremely dense cage systems like quail, but they still allow farmers to operate within relatively small areas. But space efficiency alone does not guarantee livestock profit. A farmer could raise animals efficiently in a small area, but if there is no strong market for those animals or their products, the farm business will struggle. And that leads us to one of the most critical factors in determining small farm income: market demand. No matter how productive an animal is, its profitability ultimately depends on whether people are willing to buy what the farm produces. Successful farming is not only about raising animals efficiently, it is about producing goods that have consistent demand. Quail products typically fall into three main categories: eggs, meat, and breeding birds. Quail eggs are often marketed as premium products because of their small size and unique appearance. In some regions, quail eggs are considered delicacies used in restaurants or specialty dishes. This can allow farmers to sell eggs at higher prices compared to standard chicken eggs. Quail meat also has a niche market. Some consumers enjoy quail meat for its flavor and tenderness, while certain restaurants or specialty food markets may actively seek it. However, quail meat markets tend to be more specialized compared to common poultry products. Breeding birds represent another income opportunity for quail farmers. As interest in micro farming continues to grow, many beginners are searching for starter flocks. This creates a market for farmers who sell healthy breeding quail to new livestock keepers. Rabbit products follow a slightly different market structure. Rabbit meat is widely consumed in many parts of the world and is valued for being lean and high in protein. In some regions, rabbit meat is considered a traditional food, while in others it is marketed as a healthy alternative to other meats. Because rabbits grow relatively quickly and produce multiple litters annually, farmers can generate a steady supply of meat animals for sale. Some rabbit farmers also sell breeding stock to other farms, similar to quail breeders who sell starter birds. Another interesting aspect of rabbit farming is the potential for diversified markets. In addition to meat sales, some farmers raise rabbits for pets or specialty breeding programs. While this market depends heavily on location, it can provide additional income streams for certain farmers. But understanding market demand requires more than simply identifying potential buyers. Farmers must also evaluate consistency. A profitable livestock operation depends on reliable markets that allow products to be sold regularly. Occasional sales may generate income, but steady demand is what sustains long-term farm profitability. For someone exploring homesteading for profit or trying to build a farming side hustle, understanding the strength of local markets is essential. Even the most productive animals will struggle to generate income if the farmer cannot find buyers willing to purchase their products consistently. At this point, we have compared several major factors that influence farm business success. Startup cost, reproduction speed, feed requirements, space efficiency, and market demand all shape the economic reality of small-scale farming. But the most important question still remains: how much money can a farmer realistically make from these animals? To answer that question, we need to look at profit potential, not just theoretical possibilities, but practical examples that demonstrate how small livestock systems generate revenue. Let us begin by examining quail farming income potential. A small quail operation can begin with a modest flock of birds. Because quail mature quickly and begin laying eggs at an early age, egg production can start relatively soon after establishing the flock. If the farmer maintains proper lighting conditions and nutrition, egg production can remain consistent throughout the year. These eggs can be sold for consumption, used for hatching new birds, or marketed as specialty food products. Some farmers package quail eggs in small cartons and sell them directly to consumers, while others supply restaurants or local food markets. If a farmer focuses on breeding quail as well, they can sell chicks or starter birds to new farmers entering the quail farming industry. This breeding market often becomes particularly strong when interest in micro-farming rises. However, successful quail operations require careful management of flock health, egg collection systems, and incubation processes. While the birds themselves are small, maintaining a productive system still demands daily attention and consistent care. Now, let us consider rabbit farming profit potential. Rabbit farming often revolves around meat production. A small group of breeding rabbits can produce multiple litters per year. Each litter grows rapidly and can reach market size within a relatively short period depending on the breed and feeding system used. Farmers who specialize in rabbit meat production often develop systems that allow them to rotate breeding cycles efficiently. By staggering breeding schedules, they can produce a steady flow of rabbits reaching market weight throughout the year. This steady production can allow rabbit farmers to build relationships with local buyers, restaurants, or direct consumers interested in purchasing rabbit meat. Some farmers also sell young rabbits to other farms as breeding stock, adding another layer of income to the operation. But profit calculations in livestock farming are never purely about production numbers. There are always hidden factors that influence the final outcome. Mortality rates, disease risks, labor requirements, and management complexity can all affect the financial results of a farm business. Animals that appear extremely profitable on paper may become challenging when real-world conditions enter the equation. This is why experienced farmers often emphasize the importance of management skill. Raising animals successfully requires attention to detail, observation, and a willingness to adapt to changing conditions. At this stage of the comparison, both quail and rabbits have demonstrated strong potential as profitable small farm animals. Each offers unique advantages that can support homestead income and small farm profit. But the real difference between these animals becomes clearer when we examine the hidden challenges that many beginner farmers fail to consider. Because sometimes the animals that seem easiest to raise can present unexpected difficulties. And understanding these challenges can completely change the way a farmer chooses their livestock. In the final part of this breakdown, we will reveal the overlooked factors that often determine whether quail farming or rabbit farming truly delivers the best farm ROI in 2026. And once all the numbers and realities are placed side by side, the answer becomes surprisingly clear. But before deciding which of these animals truly offers the best opportunity for profitable farming, we need to talk about something that many beginner farmers overlook: the hidden challenges of livestock farming. When people search for farm business ideas online, they often see only the advantages: rapid reproduction, fast growth, high demand, low startup costs. These benefits are real, but every livestock system also comes with difficulties that can quietly reduce profit if they are not managed properly. Understanding these challenges is what separates hobby farming from a truly profitable small farm. Let us start with quail. Quail farming can look incredibly attractive because of the bird's small size and rapid egg production. However, quail are also delicate animals. They can be sensitive to environmental changes, especially temperature fluctuations and poor ventilation. Because quail are often raised in dense cage systems for micro-farming, maintaining proper airflow becomes extremely important. Without good ventilation, ammonia buildup from droppings can affect bird health. Overcrowding can also increase stress levels within the flock, which may reduce egg production. Another challenge involves chick survival. While quail eggs hatch quickly, young chicks can be fragile during their early stages of life. Proper brooding temperatures, clean environments, and careful monitoring are necessary to ensure high survival rates. These management factors mean that while quail can produce large numbers of eggs, farmers must stay attentive to their environment and flock health to maintain strong productivity. Now, let us look at rabbits. Rabbit farming also has its own set of challenges. Rabbits are generally hardy animals, but they are not immune to disease. Conditions such as respiratory infections or digestive issues can affect rabbits if their housing conditions are not properly maintained. Temperature control is another important factor. Rabbits can tolerate cooler temperatures fairly well, but excessive heat can create stress and health risks. Farmers operating in warmer climates often need to design rabbit housing systems that provide shade, airflow, and protection from extreme temperatures. Predator protection is also essential in rabbit farming. Because rabbits are prey animals, they can attract predators such as dogs, foxes, or other wildlife. Hutches must be designed with secure materials to prevent unwanted attacks. But even with these challenges, experienced farmers have demonstrated that both quail farming and rabbit farming can become highly profitable when managed correctly. So now we arrive at the most important question. When all factors are considered, which animal truly offers the strongest opportunity for livestock profit in 2026? To answer this, we need to compare the key elements side by side. Startup cost. Quail generally require lower initial investment because cage systems can house many birds in small areas. Rabbits require slightly more space and larger housing units, which can increase initial setup expenses. Reproduction. Both animals reproduce rapidly, but in different ways. Quail produce eggs almost daily, while rabbits produce litters several times each year. Each system allows farmers to expand production quickly. Feed cost. Quail rely heavily on formulated feed, while rabbits can sometimes supplement their diets with grasses and forage depending on the farming system. This can create opportunities for farmers who want to reduce feed expenses in small-scale farming setups. Space efficiency. Quail dominate in this category. Their ability to thrive in stacked cage systems makes them ideal for backyard farming and micro-farming operations where land is extremely limited. Market demand. This factor varies by region. Quail eggs and meat often serve niche markets, while rabbit meat has more established consumption patterns in certain areas. Farmers must always research local demand before choosing livestock. When we combine these factors together, the outcome becomes clearer. For farmers who have extremely limited space and want to focus on egg production, quail farming can be an excellent option. Their high egg output and compact housing systems make them ideal for dense micro-farming setups. However, for farmers looking to build a long-term livestock meat production system with flexible feeding options, rabbits often present a stronger overall opportunity. Rabbit farming allows farmers to grow their herd steadily through breeding cycles, while producing meat that can be sold consistently in many markets. The ability to supplement feed with grasses or forage can also reduce operating costs in certain farming systems. This combination of reproduction potential, meat production, and feeding flexibility often gives rabbit farming an advantage when calculating long-term small farm profit. But there is an important truth that experienced farmers understand. Profit in farming does not come from choosing the perfect animal. Profit comes from choosing an animal that matches your environment, your market, and your management style. A farmer with strong restaurant connections might build a successful quail egg business. Another farmer with access to local meat markets might build a thriving rabbit meat operation. Both animals can become profitable livestock when they are managed correctly and matched with the right business strategy. This is why small-scale farming continues to grow around the world. Farmers are learning to adapt livestock systems to their specific resources instead of following one universal formula. Some farmers combine multiple species in their operations. A homestead might raise rabbits for meat while also producing quail eggs for local customers. This diversified approach allows farmers to build multiple income streams from relatively small land. And that is one of the most exciting aspects of modern homestead business models. Small farms are no longer limited by land size. With the right animals, the right systems, and the right strategy, even compact farms can generate meaningful income. But learning how to build those systems is what makes the difference between struggling farms and profitable ones. Because behind every successful small farm is knowledge. Knowledge about livestock management. Knowledge about market demand. Knowledge about building efficient systems that turn effort into income. And that is exactly what this channel is here to help you discover. If you are serious about profitable farming, small farm income, and building a homestead that actually makes money, then you are in the right place. Here on Herd and Harvest, we break down the smartest livestock strategies, the best farm animals for profit, and the real systems farmers use to turn small land into powerful income-producing farms. We explore rabbit farming, quail farming, Nigerian dwarf goats, backyard farming systems, micro farming techniques, and the best farm business ideas for beginners who want to start strong. Every video is designed to help you understand how profitable small farms are built in the real world. So if you want to learn how to turn livestock into a profitable farming side hustle, if you want to discover which animals generate the highest farm ROI, if you want to build a homestead business that produces real income, then make sure you subscribe to Herd and Harvest right now. Because every week we uncover the strategies, animals, and farming systems that help small farmers grow bigger profits from smaller land. And the next video might just reveal the exact livestock opportunity that could transform your farm.